This is Turn Up, Bear Down, led by our co-host Matt Jansen and myself, Scott Blakely. How are we doing today on this Thursday afternoon?
Doing great, man. Got some football going myself with my kids, and baseball. I'm a big baseball guy, but you can feel it. Football's back, so excited to get started with season three of this amazing journey with you, Scott.
Season 3 of Turn Up, Bear Down. That means after this year, if we add up 16, 17, another 17, we'll have 50 games by the end of this year. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it's something special for the 50th episode.
Oh wow,
maybe 51 for budgets.
Yeah,
51 to be more meaningful.
We could do the Mike Singletary episode too. Also a Hall of Famer.
That's right.
So we are back, and the Bears have a game on Saturday against the Chiefs, and we're gonna make another episode for that. But yeah, today we're just here to talk Bears, and so let's get into it. What were we last year? 6-11 because of the 17-game schedule, so not the best year. Obviously, Matt Nagy gets fired. We were kind of expecting that. And so we got some expectations for this year. We're excited, though a lot of people have been traded away. We've lost Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, most of our defensive players. Allen Robinson on the offensive side. We're going to have a whole crazy-looking offensive line this year. Thankfully, Nick Foles is gone. Andy Dalton did not make it back on the team again this year.
Shucks.
Yeah. Right here we have 3 expectations, and I'm going to bring these up, but we're going to kind of just do a little bit of rambling, talking about different things. So hopefully this year we can find a consistent offense. Obviously, that's going to start with the offensive line. Tevin Jenkins has had some issues so far, and we'll get into that as well. And also, Lucas Patrick, was it a broken thumb or something with a finger? So, yeah. Yeah.
Extreme.
Yeah. But we should have an improved secondary because now you have Jalen Johnson and you have Eddie. Will he be good again? Jackson. And then you had Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon from the draft. And so really looking for some leadership of these vets. Crazy to think about it, but this is going to be year number 4 for David Montgomery. It'll be year number 3 for Darnell Mooney. They're on here. And even, this is kind of a big year for Justin Fields to see if he can really own this offense and come into his own as the quarterback for the Bears. But I'm excited for these 3 guys for sure on this specific screen here. But what about you? What are you thinking about our expectations for the year?
Yeah, a lot of the same things you said. What's going to be our offensive identity? I think is a big question mark. I don't think a lot of people know. Outside of the team, I do like Getsy as an offensive coordinator. I'd like to think it could be better than curls, and more curls. And at least with some experience with Getsy and Aaron Rodgers, you would like to think the passing game. I know Justin Fields is not Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to compare them, but you would at least think that there's going to be some more developed game plans as far as the passing attack.
Yeah, for sure.
We always say it, but run the ball effectively, just to help Justin out, help the offense. I think it's going to be more of like Chicago Bears football, where you're going to see a heavy dose of the running game. I do think you're going to see Justin Fields run the ball a little bit on design runs. I don't think we have the weapons or the playmaking ability to be a super explosive team, but obviously we're going to need to have some explosive plays when they can. Really take advantage of some mismatches in the passing game. And while we're on the topic, Darnell Mooney is a guy go out and grab in your fantasy league drafts. David Montgomery as well. I think they'll use David in the passing game as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Monty will get more targets in the passing game, screen plays. And again, I think just sheer volume alone, Mooney is going to see a lot more than he has in previous years. So
definitely.
Kind of excited to see what's our 4-3 defense going to look like. Is it going to be aggressive? Are we going to be a bend but not break? I know we've seen a lot of that. That was a big Fangio pillar. So, a lot's gone on. I think I'm more excited about the GM than I am the head coach. Not to take anything away from from Coach Eberflus, but um, I kind of want to see where he can take this roster. Speaking about our GM and just Ryan Poles, just in the next 2 or 3 years, what's his team going to look like?
Yeah, he's definitely making some deals to figure that all out with trading Mac and really getting rid of anyone and freeing up a lot of cap space. So obviously next year, for those of you that are either casual Bears fans or just don't know, the Bears are going to have about as much money to spend as any team in the NFL. So they're definitely going to be major players in the free agency period, as well as acquired a lot of picks. So, and it's kind of showed because this year we haven't done too much to really solidify any of our positions. Um, we're already down to what, like, just throwing in random guys. They're not completely random, but like guys that we drafted in the draft this year, and trying to figure out a line. And we have hardly any receivers, which is surprising. And N'Keal Harry, they went and picked him up for a seventh rounder, but he's out for 8 weeks with a, what was it, a high ankle sprain. But I
Yep.
saw something about some sort of like surgery that they're going to do to expedite the process. I'm not sure. It'll still be 8 weeks. And then by Pringle, they got him, and he's been injured, and he's not going to play much. And then um, Brown went down, or my bad, not Brown. David Moore went down yesterday in practice. It's kind of hard to get all these names right because they haven't even played a season for the Bears yet, and there's been so many new faces in the building. So, who do you think are some veterans that we're really gonna lean on this year? I know we've obviously talked about these three guys, but who are some other ones?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as veterans, man, you'd like to have Roquan Smith at this point, and
Yeah,
with the, I mean, we can't say it enough. I'm still scratching my head here. I don't know why he hasn't been paid and literally given the keys because I think outside of Justin Fields, he's probably our most important player.
absolutely.
Maybe throw Montgomery in there too, but he's in the top three. If we want to establish ourselves as a defensive juggernaut again, we need him in the middle. I mean, you can't start over. That was a first round pick, I think seventh overall or maybe eighth overall. Scott, you're the encyclopedia.
Oh shoot,
So
eight sounds right. I know he was a top 10.
was it 10? Was it 10?
I know he was a top 10. Eight sounds right.
I think
Um,
seven was Leonard Floyd. Or no, yeah, you guys, I'm sorry, Peters. You could tell that we're just getting back in the swing of things here. But
we're good.
either way, man, I don't know a single person in Chicago that doesn't want Roquan Smith, lacing him up
Yeah.
and getting back in the swing of things and just getting back out there. He hasn't even touched the practice field yet. He's been on a
Yeah.
holdout.
Raquan
Rightfully,
Smith.
guys, I'm not mad at him. Fans, do not be upset with him. They're messing with his livelihood right now. So
For sure.
yeah, I would say Jalen Johnson, another one. I know he's young, but in comparison to just experience on this roster, he's going to need to step up. We'll need to lean on him and kind of create that Revis Island type atmosphere where he can shut down some top receivers for a little bit, or at least keep them muddled. The line, Riley Reef, who we just signed, Cody Whitehair, those guys have played for a while. They played on different, well, at least Riley Reef has been on different organizations, and ultimately, if Justin Fields has has a little bit more time and we have some consistency and they can stay healthy, then it's all about his development. Going into this year, there isn't a player with development that we should care more about than Justin Fields. And
Definitely.
last year we absolutely put a ragtag team around him with a ragtag offensive coordinator and scheme and mentality. And I think again, we weren't even able to see really, very few flashes because of what we put around him and what plays we designed for him. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see
Specifically, I
clean
remember.
slate, and I'd like to see something that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, for sure. I remember against Cleveland when he came out to make his first start because he played most of the game against the Bengals because Dalton got hurt on that when he was running or whatever. But he started against Cleveland, and gosh, Myles Garrett had like 3.5 sacks, and Clowney might have had three as well or something like that. It was insane. Like he was getting sacked on every play. Okay, so let's look at the season preview. Here we go. And if you're not a Bears fan, you might think we're a little too generous here, but hear me out. Hear us out. basically going through the 17 games that we have to play this year, we finished third in our division last year with the 6-11 record behind the Vikings. They were 8-9. Lions were, gosh, I don't even remember. They win what, 3 or 4 games? It's harder with the 17 game schedule. I don't
Didn't
I
really
don't know
get
the
that
normal
season.
records. Anyway, we're playing teams that finished third in their division, and we have a couple teams that honestly, like, you can't tell me they're that much better than us or they're worse than us. So starting out with San Francisco, we know that Trey Lance is going to be the guy, and that's going to be Trey Lance versus Justin Fields for the first time. So a lot of people are going to be excited for that because this is your second and third overall pick quarterbacks from the 2021 draft. So we'll get to see who's better there. I think it's our home game. Um, Trey Lance's first NFL start. Fields has a little more experience. We played the Niners really well last year, actually. Probably should have won that game. That was the Debo game where he had like a 97-yard touchdown or something in the end of the first half. But we played really well. Fields had an amazing touchdown run on 4th and 1. I believe it was like 19-yard touchdown scramble. He like actually faked Joey Bosa, went around the corner and scored. That was awesome. Then we
Incredible.
yeah, then we played the Packers week 2. I don't see us going to Lambeau and winning. Um, quite honestly, I don't think we've done that since 2015 when Jay Cutler beat them on Thanksgiving in the Brett Favre retirement game. That was awesome. Or the celebration game or whatever. The Texans were terrible last year. A lot of people are excited about Davis Mills, their new quarterback. I still feel like we should be able to
Long neck?
beat
Talking about long neck?
yeah. I still feel like we should be able to beat them. And so also that's another home game. That's 2 out of 3 games to open the season that are home. Then we play another home game against the Giants, which we've had their number the last few years. They've been pretty bad, but we've definitely beat them. Last year we played Glennon in that one. Speaking of long neck, so yeah, 3-1 to start the year potentially, and then we go to Minnesota. A lot of people feel good about the Vikings and their roster. You have Dalvin Cook, you have Justin Jefferson. I don't think we necessarily win that one. We haven't won in Minnesota since the end of the 2021, or no, sorry, that was last year, 2020 season when Trubisky and David Montgomery. So I guess we have had some success there lately. Then we play an interesting game against the Commanders. Week 6, I think we could win that one. I really don't know what to make of Carson Wentz at this point.
You got to shut down
Um,
Terry McLaurin. You shut down Terry McLaurin, then you
yeah,
got a chance.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see if Carson Wentz is going to make it for the Commanders this year. But again, he was traded to the Colts. How many was that? 2 first-round picks they traded him for? It was
Whether
something.
it was whether it was a seventh round pick, it was too much.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, the Colts into their season losing to the Jags, and that was embarrassing. So they shipped him out to play for Washington. Also, this is the first time the Bears will ever play the Washington Commanders, formerly the Washington Football team, formerly a different name. Then we play a Monday night game in Foxborough against the Patriots. I was trying to think this through. We never beat the Patriots when they had Brady.
No, we didn't. I remember
So
he torched us one time. Even when Erlacher was playing, I remember they put up like 40 on us. Wes Welker
yeah.
might as well have had his name on that field that
So
day. That was incredible.
potentially we have not beat the Patriots since like the 90s. So I'm
Well,
not.
I'm letting Raji do some work here behind the
Yeah.
scenes just to
All
figure out when
right.
that is.
Yeah. Check that. Fact check that. I don't think we've beaten them because we never beat them with Brady, and we haven't played them since they didn't have Brady. Then we play at the Cowboys. Cowboys had a good year last year. I'm feeling that that's not necessarily our game either, especially on a short week. I'm giving us a win against the Dolphins, though people are excited about Tua throwing these 65-yard bombs to Tyreek Hill in practice. Again, it's practice, like Allen Iverson would say. We had to, or do we go back home, play the Lions. I think we can beat the Lions. I know they got Jared Goff and some rookie receivers, and they got the tight end. Gosh, I can't think of his name right now. Who's the tight end from?
It's TJ Hawkinson,
Yeah, Hawkinson.
another fantasy guy. Make sure you
Yeah,
go out and get TJ. You probably
yeah.
get him in the middle rounds. So Raji just got back to me. He said we lost the last 5
Dang.
uh, very handedly. That game I was talking about was And because when did Urlacher retire? Was he still playing in 2010?
No, 12 was his last year, I
Okay, but
think.
he was still playing in 10, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so 36-7.
Oh, that was the snow game. Yeah,
And then, yeah, the snow game. That's
that
right.
was the
And then
snow
I
game.
watched that at Uncle D's. Some of
Yeah,
you St. Joeans know
yeah.
R.I.P. to Uncle D's restaurant and bar there.
You hate to see
Um,
it.
in 2014, we lost 51-23.
Oh my gosh.
Last time we beat the New England Patriots was December 10th of 2000, and that was
Oh, so we did
by a
win in
touchdown.
this. That was back when there was only 3 divisions in both the NFC and the AFC. Isn't that wild to think
So
about?
it's been 23 years. 22.
Gosh. Wow.
Hop and a skip.
Yeah. So I feel like we
I,
can. I feel like we can beat the Falcons. Are they starting Marcus Mariota? Is that right?
if they are, he's not going to be healthy by that game, so we don't have to worry
Oh.
about it.
Oh. Well, they got that. Is it uh, the guy from Cincinnati, Ritter? Is that right?
Oh, did they draft Desmond Ritter?
Yeah, Desmond Ritter. That's what I'm thinking.
Nice.
Maybe he'll be playing by that. That could be an interesting game, him and Fields. We go to the Jets, Zach Wilson, maybe a revamped offense. They did just lose is that guy's name Becton? He just got
Yeah,
hurt. He's out for
Makai
the year.
Becton, one of their
Yeah.
offensive tackles.
Yeah, you hate to lose offensive linemen early and before the season even starts.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, make sure everybody holds on to their moms whenever we go play the Jets. Just so you know, Zach Wilson's out there. He's preying on moms. So just
Oh
everybody
dear.
hold your mom tight when we go to New York.
And then we play the Packers week 13. Again, not feeling good about us against the Packers, at least not quite yet, until we have a team that has some receivers for Justin Fields. We'll probably do all right during our bye week, so we're not going to count that as a loss. Eagles are looking better. They made the playoffs last year as the 7th seed for the NFC. But I mean, they've kind of been either
Mediocre.
bad or
Mediocre.
mediocre the last 5 years. Even the year of the, dare I say it, double doink, they weren't like that good of a team. They won like their last 4 games of the year to make the playoffs. The Bills, I mean, other than the Packers, the Bills have to be about the best team we play all year. I don't see us winning that one. Then we play the Lions at Detroit. People are feeling good about the Lions this year. I've heard a lot of good things. They're even featured on Hard Knocks. Maybe that's part of the reason people are excited about the Lions. Maybe we lose this one at the Lions. Depends on, again, who's playing. If hopefully Fields is still healthy and we don't have our backup in for that game. Gosh, I can't think of his name. He used to play for Northwestern. He was at the Saints last year as a backup.
Yeah, Trevor Simeon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Trevor Simeon. Hopefully he's not playing that game. But Andy Dalton did go into Detroit and win on Thanksgiving last year. And then we end our season at home against the Vikings. I like us in a final against the Vikings. It'll be outside. It'll be like 20 degrees, maybe a little snow. Kirk Cousins won't like that. And so that is what we have for the season for the Bears, give or take a few losses. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 17 games. So we're 10-7 for the Bears this year. That feels like a lot of wins. How do you feel about that prediction?
Yeah, you're a big glass half full guy, and I am at times, but I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go 7-10.
Yeah.
I think very well the Detroit Lions could leapfrog us, and we could very well be fighting for the last place in our division.
Yeah.
And so I think the Lions gained some momentum last year, especially down the stretch. I really do. They started beating some teams that they weren't supposed to. So,
Yeah.
and we didn't. We really didn't beat anybody we weren't supposed to. So,
Right.
you finally see what it looks like to have a fourth place schedule. Third, fourth place schedule. So that's nice. You'd like it to land on a year after when you go from worst to first type of situation, because then you have a softer schedule. But we're not going to beat the. I mean, unless something happens to Rodgers, I don't. We'll get swept by Green Bay. We could get swept by Minnesota, but I do think that the equalizer is when they come and play on our JV field that is Soldier. So that I guess at week 18, but at that point I think we're out of the playoff consideration. The Lions are sneaky, and like I said,
Yeah.
in previous years would we not get upset if we lost to the Lions, and this year I don't know if we were allowed to get upset. So
Yeah.
because I think we're right there with them. I really do. I think. we in previous years we had more household names, we had more talent, and normally a little bit more coaching. So, and I don't think that's the case necessarily anymore. So,
For sure. Yeah, I mean, in my prediction, I was just kind of going with games I thought we could potentially win. I think more 8 and 9 is
sure,
legitimate, and it's the NFL. Like a lot of these teams that shouldn't beat people or beat you do.
yeah,
We'll probably end up losing like the Dolphins and the Eagles. I would see that, and I think you're still looking at a pretty accurate like depiction of what our record would be on this season. So yeah, but I think it is encouraging. I remember last year when they were talking about the schedule and like going through it multiple times. They're like the Bears have the number one strength or hardest schedule in the NFL. Like it was like, well, that's going to be great with the average team and a rookie quarterback potentially, and it showed. I mean, it was pretty clear. Like there were a lot of games we lost. We played the Rams week 1, and then we played the Bengals week 2. That alone, we played both of the Super Bowl teams in the first 2 weeks of the season. So
yeah. We had a rough go last couple of years when we've been treading water, so to speak, as an organization. We've had some bad luck as far as our scheduling goes, but
yeah,
um, I mean, there are. I mean, at least look at this list here and say, well, at least I can expect some high scoring games, or we can see the offense kind of take a step because again, you're playing some teams that you are playing really good teams, but then you are playing some teams that it could be high scoring. You can score on. You can kind of gain some offensive momentum. So, looking at it, maybe this is a positive step that we get to play some teams, maybe not as good. Just again to just kind of get us going because I think you and I are both on the same page. We got to look towards the next few years to get back into that contention window.
yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on. We got some fun stuff, is what we're calling this portion of Turn Up Bear Down. So this year, the Bears have unveiled an orange alternate helmet. Ironically enough, in this picture, Raquan Smith is staring at you, the viewer, but also he's keeping an eye on his new coach and also new GM. So hopefully they can get that deal done soon. Because I mean, as a Bears fan, like if we don't have Raquan Smith out there, that's already feels like an even add 2 or 3 more losses on this year.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's a new era of coaching and GM, so that should always be something to be excited about. Eberflus definitely does have a background of having better defenses, and hopefully this will help our defense kind of get back to what it was as they finished okay, but not the best last year. Secondary was pretty weak, but 2 bright spots. We got rookies Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon. Both were somewhat high picks to come in and help out, and everybody out of training camp has said they are playing really, really well. So that will be
day
exciting to
one
see.
starters, day one starters.
Yep. I mean, that's what you want. That would be a pretty good first draft for Pools with the limited people he was able to pick, or limited picks, I guess he actually had because of the Fields trade and the Tevin Jenkins trade last year. So, what do you think about some of this? Let's start with the orange helmets. What are you thinking about it? There it is,
I like
right there on the
I like
screen.
the orange helmet. Yeah, I told you I liked it. I would have liked it maybe going a little bit darker, but I like it. I just like that because for so long it seems like we were just stuck in our old ways and we were such traditionalists that we weren't gonna try new things and branch out. And so I'm glad that we're kind of going along with the flow here, so to speak, and trying new different combinations and different colors. I know that we're one of the older franchises in the NFL, and I get it. I get the if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I'm glad that we're starting. We're going to continue the trend of trying some new stuff. Try to make some fans happy. Sell some more stuff, obviously, but just kind of create a new look because it is a new era.
Yeah.
As far as Eberflus, just watching him a little bit on from afar, and then with the Hard Knocks when he was with the Colts, he puts a prize on turnovers. And who does that remind you of? Lovey Smith.
Wow, that was awesome. That
When
ding.
we when we were really good as a defense, we were getting turnovers. Any good defense gets turnovers. So if we can keep that emphasis on creating turnovers, That's only going to help our offense. Only going to help our chances of being more successful. I like Ryan Poles. I like what he's done so far. Don't sleep on Velus Jones, who we took in the third round from Tennessee. I told you his player comp is Deebo Samuel. I think he has a similar skill set. I think he's built like Deebo. Go back and look at some of his tape. The way he runs is like, as far as his tenacity, some of his routes, he looks like a little mini Deebo, which as a Bears fan and as someone who's seen very little offense in my tenure as a Bears fan,
How long is
it gets
that
me excited a
tenure?
little bit. It gets me excited because we want to see offense. We want to see some explosive plays. We want to, I don't want to just get up off my couch and yell over turnovers, even though that's really fun to do. I want
Yeah.
I want to see some offensive production for, if not a whole season, for spurts. So,
Yeah.
and then I do like Brisker. I like Gordon. I'm really glad we got them on our side. I'm interested to see how they're going to use them. Man, if Eddie Jackson can get back to even close to where he was his first couple years, we have a very formidable secondary. We jumped back into that conversation of a very formidable secondary. So,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and let's be honest, we don't have a lot of guys that are going to rush the quarterback. I would say that's probably going to take a hit a little bit as far as our pass rushing. Now, Robert Quinn's a stud. Travis Gibson is going to be serviceable. Blackson, Angelo had some really nice moments last year. But our what was our strength for so long, which was our front seven, is now what I would call, especially without Roquan, if he's going to be gone, a weakness. So that's why I'm glad that our secondary is kind of hopefully taking the next step, because that's your last line of defense. And if we're not going to get to the quarterback, then we're going to have to cover some people. So
For sure.
I am excited. I'm just, like I said, I'm ready for something new. I think, Nagy took about 5 years off my life. So I just,
Being a Bears fan does that too.
and as well, yes, and as well. So please, Justin Fields, let's try to keep him healthy for a full year. That's part of his development as well. If he's hurt, can't get better when you're on the injury table. So trying to keep him healthy for a full year. Figuring out what our identity is.
Yeah.
At some point during the year, I don't think it's fair to say they're going to come into the season and know their identity like previous, like other teams and other organizations. Like the Kansas City Chiefs, we know what their identity is.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes.
Maybe it's a little different now with Tyreek gone, but they're going to sling it, right? They're going to sling the rock.
Yeah.
And they're going to make chunk plays, and we'll get to the Chiefs when we get to this next episode. And viewers, make sure you stick around tomorrow and or Saturday. That'll be available to you guys. But we will be talking about the Chiefs, Bears. That preseason game is on Saturday. I don't have a time on that. Raji just
It's
stepped
at
out.
noon. The game's at noon on Saturday.
I don't have that at the moment, but
it's at the JV field.
It's at the JV field. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
Soldier Field. Until they
someone's
put a dome over it.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother
We haven't
story.
gotten to that part yet.
I guess that's part of this segment, technically. The Bears moving to Arlington Heights potentially and having a brand new stadium, which we do have the smallest stadium by like capacity, I think, in the NFL. That might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's accurate. And then they're looking at potentially putting a dome over it and redoing a lot of it so they can. It's like an open air type of dome, though. So I don't really know if that would be a good or bad.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of my Bears friends from Chicago, and they're pretty split on moving to Arlington Heights. And listen, as a fan, you can't tailgate at Soldier Field. You used to be able to do that. You can't do it anymore. I think that takes away from the experience a little bit.
Yeah.
Do I think how it looks currently, it looks stupid? Yeah, it looks like a spaceship on top of a stadium. But if they can make it aesthetically pleasing, I would like for them to stay there. I think it's a beautiful setting.
It's awesome. It's the best.
It's a beautiful historic setting for them to stay downtown. And if they can put a dome, that's cool. I mean, the wind, is it really a factor? Maybe when Robbie Gold was kicking, it was, because he was, he was Robbie Gold, but I just don't know how much it plays into the, how much it really plays in. Maybe it'll make us make it a little bit louder, a little bit more hostile. So if they throw a dome in there, I'm not opposed to putting a dome over it, but I would like for them to stay there. But I would also like for them to create spaces for fans to tailgate. I think that's an important part.
Well, I mean, there's just not really a lot of room in downtown Chicago. But anyway, it's a beautiful stadium. Been there. I know you've been there. It's really awesome to look over and see the skyline and just downtown Chicago. So getting into some of our final segments here, specific predictions. So we've already talked about, I guess, our records for the Bears, but you have one more chance here to say what you think the record of the Bears is going to be this year without looking at the games. Just come up with a record. What are you thinking? The heavy breath.
I think Vegas set the over under for the Bears at 6.5. So I'm gonna go 7. I'm gonna go 7. Like I
Dang.
said, stick with 7 and 10. I think that's a fair number. I think I think we do have a soft schedule, but I think we're also a soft team. I mean, let me just put it that way. I don't think we're out to make heads roll right now. I think we're out to figure out what it is we are, and I think it's going to take us a long time to gel as an offense.
Yeah.
And that's if everybody stays healthy. So, and I think our defense is going to go through some growing pains. I think transitioning to a 4-3 from a 3-4, you don't have a lot of the right players in there yet. You're transitioning them to see if they fit, but they're not. And they did bring some 4-3 type players in, but I still
Right.
think there's going to be people there that are new in some different techniques and things like that. That's just going to take some time. So
For sure.
I see 7 and 10, and I think as long as Fields has more of those moments that we saw, I think we can be okay with that as Bears
Yeah.
Nation.
So I will go 8-9. I know my record was 10-7 after picking the win losses, and again, that's more of like we could win some of those games and end up 10-7, but I'm gonna say 8-9 is the record that I'm going with. I think if Fields develops as a second year quarterback should, as the kind of guy that we think he's gonna be, finding Mooney enough. We haven't talked about Cole Kmet, some of these other guys that could be options. David Montgomery. Again, we have Khalil Herbert. These guys have some opportunities to make things happen on the offensive side of the ball. Enough good defensive players still there. That's including Raquan, and a better secondary. I think we could be a tough team in some ways. That doesn't necessarily mean we can beat some of these upper echelon teams, but I think we can do a decent job. So I'll go 8-9. As far as Pro Bowlers, I mean,
Yeah,
Raquan, if he plays, that'd be a pretty good story. After getting snubbed 2 years in a row, he has this whole dispute of a contract, ends up signing, and it has a Pro Bowl season. But other than that, I don't really know that we have. Maybe Mooney. Mooney has a really good season. I would like it for it to be Fields, but I mean, you're competing against Brady and Rodgers and like guys that are
it's
just
not gonna
gonna
be
get what?
yeah, it's not gonna be. It can't be.
Yeah,
Fields doesn't have anything around him. There's just no
yeah.
way. I'm going to go out and say Jalen Johnson possibly.
Hey, yeah.
I think Mooney can slide in there just off of the fact that he's really all we have on offense, and then maybe we can just feed him at times and
Mm-hmm.
kind of beef his stats. I saw him make a couple spectacular plays at camp over the past couple days that I haven't seen him make before. So, again, and even let's say David Montgomery gets in there as one of the last running backs, just maybe total yards. Maybe it's not just rushing yards and touchdowns, but total yards, all-purpose yards. So
Yeah. He is a beast. He's the identity.
he is.
Definitely could
So
help out Fields
that's
a
what I
lot.
had. That's what I had. I don't think anybody on the edge. Maybe someone on the line. You can get a Cody Whitehair. He's got some
I
notoriety.
I didn't mention this, but I actually do like Travis Gibson more than I probably should. I think that he could be a really good guy to get, I don't know, 8 sacks this year. So there you go. There's one of my specific predictions. Gibson's
Wow.
going to end up with 8 sacks on the year. What did gosh, why am I struggling right now to think? It's been a long show. Um what was the record that was set last year by
For
Robert
what?
Quinn? Was it 18? Is that what he got?
Was it 18 and a half?
18 and a half maybe? Yeah, he broke a Hall of Famers record last year for the Bears, so that's pretty good.
Yeah,
And so maybe Gibson has 8 sacks this year. Quinn's probably going to go down a little bit, I would think. Um, yeah, Mooney maybe 1,000 yards receiving could happen.
it should.
Should
I mean, if
happen.
he stays healthy,
Sorry,
it
could
should.
happen. Should happen. Yeah. Hopefully, I don't like when we have guys that it feels like they just kind of disappear in games, and maybe that's because the defense is doing a good job. But I want to see Cole Kmet have like 4 or 5 touchdowns this year. Would you believe it if I told you that last year he did not have one touchdown?
No, I saw him drop a few.
Yeah,
So
that's true. So I was looking through the
didn't
ES
utilize in the red zone like I would have liked. And the same went for Jimmy Graham. That's just scratch. It was a head scratcher why we didn't use Jimmy Graham exclusively if they're down
Yeah.
in the red zone. But
But all of a sudden, Jimmy Graham ended the season with a few scores. Actually, it was really
he did
strange. But like all of a sudden, they're like, "Hey, we should throw this guy again." We forgot about him.
right.
So final rankings. I'm gonna go Bears. Um, top 12 defense. That's a big take, maybe. And offense can't be any worse than it was last year. I mean, it was like bottom third. I'll say our offense will be 17th in the NFL this year. So 12 and 17. I like that. Not
Yeah.
That's respectable, but not great. So
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal: if our offense isn't better, unless we see that the play calling or whatever is just awful, then maybe it is on Justin. I mean, maybe Justin Fields isn't the answer. So I know that's unfair. I know he really hasn't had a fair shake, but there's no excuse why you have pretty much the exact same room. Minus Allen Robinson, who was pretty much invisible last year. He's Casper's cousin, and so I mean, you got pretty much the same cast. So he has chemistry with those guys. The beautiful part is, and remember I told you this a few years ago about Matt Nagy. No one knows what plays he's going to run. No one knows what kind
right,
of what plays gets
yeah,
he's going to run. Are they going to be close to Green Bay's? Probably. There's probably going to be some concepts very similar to Green Bay's,
for
but they
sure.
have the advantage of punching people first with these new plays and designs and schemes. And so then at some point, middle end into the next few years, then the adjustment period will come into play, which Matt Nagy was never able to do.
Right.
Besides sell shoes really well
Yeah.
at at Carnival.
Yeah.
So I just think they do have an advantage there. So maybe early in the season you get to kind of see some unique, some exotic stuff. Man, like I said, I would love for Luke can't be creative enough, right? Like we've been begging for creativity on the offense. Just get away from the vanilla style. I do think Eberflus is going to want a little pound and ground and pound type style. But
Yep.
I do think that Getsy should help in the passing game. So offensively, we should at least accelerate in some categories for sure if everybody's able to stay healthy.
So did the research. Bears were our intern did the research, and confirmed this to me. So we were top 6 in defense last year. Well, we weren't top 6. We were number 6 in defense last year, and we were 30th in scoring offense and 32nd in both total offense and passing offense last year. That's terrible. Like, how can we be any worse than 32? You can't. So,
Right.
fantasy players, we've talked about a few. I mean, Justin Fields, any quarterback in the NFL, like, is going to put up some points, but he does run the ball. He had, 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns last year. He throws a good deep ball. I mean, if somebody's there, if we have enough time to throw that ball, to Mooney or maybe Velus Jones. So I think he could put up some numbers in fantasy this year. Obviously, David Montgomery, you mentioned. I like Mooney. Komet seems like a guy who would make sense if he can finally find the end zone with the ball in his hand. Any others that you can think of?
Yeah, I think you draft Justin Fields this year to be a bye week quarterback or a
Yeah.
matchup based quarterback. David Montgomery is a borderline RB1. He's in that RB1, RB2 category, depending on again, how we want to use him. But I think he'll get touches. I don't think we have to worry about Montgomery getting touches if he's healthy, like we did with Nagy.
Yeah, for
Cole
sure.
Kmet, backup tight end that you draft to play on the bye week. You stream him. Darnell Mooney is a guy. Pringle is a waiver wire pickup. Mooney is a guy you take in the middle of the late rounds that, unless you're a Bears fan, you probably don't know about him. And he has extreme upside. He could be a breakout player in all of the NFL as far as fantasy.
Yeah.
He could be this year's Cooper Kupp, or excuse me, last year's Cooper
Oh
Kupp.
gosh. Wait, who?
No, we're going off the. We're diving deep
Who
right now.
who could be Cooper Cup?
Darnell Mooney could have
Oh
a
man.
Cooper Kupp type of ascension in 1 year.
Okay.
And
I still don't know.
there's other people. There's other people we could throw on that list. I think Jerry Jeudy. I think some guys over in Denver that are now going to be playing with Russell Wilson versus Drew Lock. I think
That's fair.
another couple of names. Is he going to be Cooper Kupp production? No, I'm not saying that, but I'm
Right.
saying
Yeah.
the boom from going from Jared Goff to Matt Stafford obviously drastically affected Cooper Cup's production and his livelihood, his success rate.
Yeah.
Mooney is a guy you take in the middle rounds that could boom, or that could bust. So that's where I'm at with those guys. I think Chicago's defense I would take a stab at. I would take it. It's not the first defense I take off the board, but once they go on a run, knowing that we got possibly an upgraded secondary and how the league is with passing,
Yeah.
I would take a chance on Chicago's defense, but I don't think it's going to be in the top 5 this year. I think it's going to regress a little bit.
Probably. Okay. We got some final things. So AFC prediction, NFC prediction, and Super Bowl. So yeah, you can see here in the North, we got the Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns. You don't really know what the Brown situation is going to be. Most likely, Watson's not playing this year. So either are they going to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, or maybe just let the guy Jacoby Brissett play the entire year. So who knows? The Steelers, you got Trubisky there. That could be interesting to see him starting. Ravens, decent season last. What?
Trubisky get week 1.
Trubisky week 1, yeah, for sure.
I'm saying you take Trubisky over Pickett. Who would you start?
It's going to be Trubisky as the inside track, is what they said. Sources. Lamar Jackson, he was injured a little bit last year. I think he'll have a good year. The Ravens are looking good. And I mean, the Bengals are better all the time. They're finally getting some support for Joe Burrow, it's looking like. The South, I feel better about the Jags this year, but I still think that they're not quite there. The Colts should be a little better, maybe with Matt Ryan. I don't know. They got a good running game. The Titans, they won it last year. It seems like they would be the favorite to win it again this year. I'm not sure how good the Texans are yet, but maybe they'll be a little bit better. The East, I really like the Bills. I think the Bills are probably one of the best teams in the NFL for sure. The Dolphins have gotten better. I think the Patriots are regressing a little bit. They lost Josh McDaniels as their offensive coordinator, and now they have a coordinator by committee. They don't even have titles for defensive and offensive coordinator. They brought back Patricia from the Lions to be an offensive coordinator. That doesn't make sense because he's a defensive coordinator. The Jets, I mean, I think they're definitely better, but I don't know if they're ready to compete with those 3 teams. And then the West, honestly, these could go any way. It could be Chiefs, Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers. Could even be any of those guys taking the Chiefs, but I don't think anybody's ready to do that. We'll talk more about the Chiefs in our show tomorrow, but I think that they did enough good things in the draft that they're going to be solid. The Chargers are looking better as well. They got Jackson, the corner from the Patriots. Obviously, the Broncos got Russell Wilson, and the Raiders got Devontae Adams. So I think all 4 of those teams could easily make the playoffs this year. That could be your champion, or your AFC West champion, and your wild card teams as well. What do you have any disparities between what we have here? Anybody you like in the AFC?
I'm not sold on the Dolphins yet. I because I'm not sold on Tua.
Yeah, me
Um,
neither. Who's
I
their?
also think I also think the Broncos probably finish ahead of the Chargers, but man, it's hard to not like Justin Herbert in that offense.
I
It really
agree.
is. And they do have some pass rushers. They have a legit defense, especially when Derwin James is back.
Yeah.
Did the Bengals peak last year? I think the Steelers are down. I think the Browns. I think it's going to be an up and down. I think it's going to be a complete crap show in Cleveland this year with Deshaun Watson and the suspension, and Kareem Hunt wants out.
It's a mess.
So I do think it's the Ravens and the Bengals it's a 2-headed monster there. As far as, is there an AFC or is there an NFC too, Scott? Do you have an NFC?
Oh yeah, I was just talking about these. So for NFC, obviously, unfortunately, we're still thinking the Packers are the kings of the North. The Vikings are looking a little bit better. I have us finishing in front of the Lions, but that could be like a 1-game difference. And then we're even thinking a lot of people could. Yeah, we're even thinking that the Lions could finish in front of us. The South, you still got to like Brady's last dances, they're going to call it. I like the Panthers more with Baker than I did without him because I think he can do enough. Like Is he the best quarterback in the NFL? No. Is he an elite? Not necessarily, but I think he can do some things to make it happen. The Saints, Jameis Winston, can he do it? Like last year, he was playing well. He got hurt, and then their season kind of went down the drain.
So
And the Falcons, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with them? They maybe Mariota plays well. You thinking he gets hurt? Maybe Ritter comes in and can figure it out. They do have Kyle Pitts. You got to like him as a tight end. But I don't know enough about the Falcons to think they're going to be better. The Cowboys won the division last year. They're still looking good this year. They did lose Amari Cooper to the Browns, but I still think they have enough with Dak and Zeke and CeeDee Lamb, as well as who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Can't remember him. They did have an injury at wide receiver as well. The Eagles should be, I don't know, kind of the same. I would feel more confident in the Eagles, but I mean, again, they were just kind of mediocre last year. Who says that they're going to be any better than that? And then again, the East has not been the best. Washington, you got to love their coach, Ron Rivera, ex Bears player, ex Bears defensive coordinator with Lovey at one point. But the problem there is Carson Wentz. Will he be able to figure it out? And the Giants, I don't even know. I don't know.
Daniel Jones, enough said.
Yeah,
Daniel Jones. So
yeah. But didn't they get somebody as his backup? Who am I thinking of? Did they draft someone? Man, I'm gonna have to look more into
not
that.
not sure. Not
Yeah.
sure. Sorry, fans, was not that into the draft this year. Because I believe we didn't have a first rounder again, did we?
No, we didn't. We didn't.
So sorry, I'm not watching the first round. We don't have it in. But
Yeah.
I did. But I was in the middle of a baseball game.
Yeah.
I
Understandable.
think we were playing Chili Coffee. I don't want
Yeah.
to talk about what happened. But yeah, the West. As I'm kind of continuing with Scott's here, the West could have 3 playoff teams. The Seahawks,
I
they're
agree.
not making the playoffs. You lose Russell. I don't know why DK Metcalf doesn't want out. I don't know why they wouldn't sell Lockett and Metcalf and try to get as much as they could to try to rebuild there.
You don't have enough
Um,
faith in Drew Lock, man. The
no,
Missouri native.
I think there's a chance that 1 or 2 of those guys are like that I mentioned are gone before the year's out, anyways.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to get frustrated. Rams are going to be tough. I think the Cardinals, when they get D Hop back from his suspension, because he's got a few games to sit out, he will be. They'll be a formidable opponent. And again, the 49ers, man, like they're just scrappy.
Yeah,
Like
they're
they're
gonna be
just
tough.
that fire that you punch, and they're still there in the 15th round. So
They're gonna be tough. And the thing with the Niners is if Trey Lance is in fact a great quarterback this year as a rookie, or I mean, I guess he's not a rookie, but if he has like a Patrick Mahomes type season, you got to think they're going to be either second or first in that division
for sure.
with the way Kyle Shanahan plays. And they got a great defense. They got a lot of good guys on defense as well. I feel like, yeah, Rams,
The only way
Cardinals,
that
49ers.
sorry, yeah, sorry, I didn't. It's just like any other year. I'm cutting Scott off. I think as long as Trey Lance doesn't turn the ball over at a ridiculous rate, I think he's going to be an upgrade over Jimmy G. So that scheme is all about Trey Lance, and I mean, he's in their incubator, so to speak. So I think. I just think that scheme was designed for players with Trey Lance's skill set. So I think they're going to be okay. Just is defense going to hold up, and what can Trey Lance do and what can he not do? I think we'll see that pretty early, and then we'll see that as the year progresses.
Yeah. Wow. Well, so sticking with our prediction here, I'm thinking the Bills over the Rams in the Super Bowl. Now, look, I don't feel confident about the Rams. I feel good about the Bills, but obviously there's a lot of teams that could probably beat them. The Chiefs are definitely going to be in the way as well. Um, who do you like out of the NFC and the AFC that isn't on here? I mean, obviously everybody thinks the Chiefs are equally as good as the Bills, but any other teams that we should keep our eye out for?
I'm hoping that we see another AFC championship game like we did with the Chiefs and Bills. That was must see entertainment. So one of those 2 teams out of the AFC, man, it's really hard to see anybody. I think the AFC is deeper than the NFC, and I think in years past it's been the other way. But I do think that the AFC, even though we could say the Chiefs and Bills, I think it's just much deeper when it comes to the higher, like you said before, the upper echelon teams. I think it's just deeper in the AFC. So
Yeah.
it's not going to be the Bengals. Maybe this is the year the Ravens break out. I mean, it
Yeah.
might be. But again, you're going to have to run through. You're going to have to run through Buffalo. You're going to have to run through Kansas City, most likely. So that's a tough trek.
Yeah.
You call me crazy. I could see the 49ers. I can see the
Yeah.
49ers or even the Packers represent the NFC. Or excuse me, I don't think the Packers are going to win. Represent the NFC. They'll be in the playoffs, but we know what they do in the second round of the playoffs. They lose. Uh, I'm sticking with the favorite here. I think the Rams are going to be in there, and then flip a coin on some of those AFC teams because it's going to be a gauntlet.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, that'll do it for this edition of Turn Up Bear Down.